Ni hao et bienvenue à le dîner ce soir. Madeleines. So you know those master classes that they have online? Some of them are great. Apparently the Christina Aguilera one is horrendous. But anyway, I took a couple of the cooking ones. I took Gordon's class and I took this class with Dominique Ansel, who's a master pastry maker. He has 2 places in New York. He's the inventor of the cronut, and I was just down there recently. Apparently people line up for these things at 6 a.m. and the store opens at 8 o'clock. That's amazing to me because it's a tourist attraction. But anyway, his pastry class is quite good on Masterclass. I took this recipe directly from his class for Madeleines, which he refers to as the sushi of pastry. They're meant to be served directly after cooking. So they're almost like sushi in that you have to eat it right when you make it. It can't go into a little plastic thing at the checkout at Starbucks. Here's an important thing about making Madeleines. Your Madeleine batter must rest overnight and react with itself. This one is already rested, but we're going to make a batter. But it's really important that you do that. I'm not sure chemically why, but it's important that you do that. I served these for Christmas morning breakfast. You know, homemade Madeleines wrapped in a cute linen napkin to my friends David and Nicholas, who came to Christmas breakfast, and I didn't receive a single comment. To make Madeleines, which also happens to be the name of one of my favorite people in the world, you have to have the following list of ingrédients, which is not the word they use. You need brown sugar, honey, or hunty, sugar, salt, eggs from a chicken, baking poudre, flour, lemons, butter, and baking spray, which we're going to talk about. Anyways, let's make Madeleine batter. The first thing you're going to do is melt some butter with a little honey and a little brown sugar, but I want to talk about this thing. The amazing King Arthur flour. They made this thing called a brown sugar keeper. You know when you go to make cookies and your brown sugar is like a brick? This is what prevents it from doing that. Dun 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 dun. This thing, which you soak in water, it's actually dry right now, and you put it back in, it keeps your brown sugar fluffy and moist. So King Arthur Flour sent me one of these, along with a bundt pan. There's a short about bundt cakes also. And there was the wrong pan, and the brown sugar keeper was busted. So I wrote King Arthur Flour, and I said, oh, guys, you're so awesome, and we love you so much. And but you sent me the wrong pan, and this thing is broken. And in the course of the conversation, they said, it would be our pleasure if you kept the pan, and we will send you the pan you ordered. Is that amazing or what? That's customer service, man. So now we are going to melt some butter from a cow, brown sugar from a plant, and honey or hunty from a bee. Bzzz. This is plus gras, which I prefer for baking because it's not super soft, so it holds up a little bit. It's not like those super fatty like Irish butter that kind of is very flaccid in pastry baking. So I'm going to melt this plus gras, which actually means more fat. That's what that word, plus gras, which means more fat. Boom, there she goes. They want you to do a tablespoon of brown sugar, which is perfectly soft and lovely because we have our King Arthur Flour brown sugar keeper. So I'm going to do a heaping tablespoon. Okay. Now, do you ever have this thing where something asks you to put honey or molasses or golden syrup or something in, and you're like, oh my God, it's going to completely destroy my spoons? Here's a little trick. Look at the measuring thing. So this is a teaspoon. It wants 2 teaspoons, which is basically some honey, okay? Look at this. Take your honey And you're going to mentally fill it twice. Okay, this is how you don't mess up something. So you hold it like this and you go like this. I'm imagining I'm filling it. That's 1, and that's 2. And that's how you don't mess up your spoon. As we've discussed, the automatic lighters in stoves break. I don't care who you are or where you live. Your automatic lighter that goes tick, 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 tick. The first thing it'll do is tick constantly, and then it will break. So here we go. So put this under. You don't want to burn this. You don't want to scorch it, okay? So you're basically melting the butter. It's usually better not to use a big, huge chunk like this. You should really chop it in small pieces. So you have your flour, which is from wheat. It's made from wheat. That's a little plant with little baubles on it that they crush and they make flour. You have to add half a teaspoon of baking powder, which might be why it has to rest, actually. Half a teaspoon baking powder. You pour the sugar, the regular sugar, in that, and you mix it, incorporate it together so it looks incorporated. Oh, Haitau's back from his junket of fame. Thank God. All right, here we go. So then you're going to make a little depression in the center, and you're going to mix in 3 eggs, okay? Now, your whisk is going to get extremely narpy when you do this. Don't panic, because you're going to put the melted butter in. I'm just going to quickly swish this. And you're going to add 3 eggs. The bigger the better, the tighter the sweater. So get the sort of semi-large eggs here. These are all meads. That's short for medium. Big controversy about my wooden spoons on all your wonderful comments. Some people hate them, some people love them. I'm going to start incorporating that, and you're going to see you're like, this is never going to work. It's never going to make Madeleine. Look, it's a wreck. Ah, what am I going to do? Ah. Second egg. You know vegans don't eat honey? Third egg. Do you ever get stuck in a Google hole when you're looking up something on purpose? Like I was looking up something for the theater the other day, and look at that. And I got stuck in this Google hole, and I ended up watching something called 8 times when rock stars were too drunk to perform. I don't know how I got there. I am old enough to know about Jefferson Airplane, and I could actually used to be able to do a really perfect imitation of Grace Slick singing. You know, it's not that hard. But she was a notorious drunk. I don't know if you guys, she was the singer for Jefferson Airplane. And I forgot the salt, so I'm just going to put the salt in now. That looks very nice. We're now going to add our melted ingredients. And it's going to turn into Madeleines now. Here we go. I do it a little bit at a time. Otherwise, you'll have a mess. So I'm stirring this in. And it's the butter shouldn't be hot enough that it cooks your eggs, okay? So you want, if it's got really hot by accident, said the actress to the bishop, you want to let it cool a little bit. This is perfect. A little bit. Oops, spilled. Now you're like, oh, now I get it. Now it's getting loose. Just like me after a few wines. There we go. Honey and melted sugar. How will you ever do it? Boom, boom, boom. How will you ever do it? That Dominique Ansel guy is the sweetest guy. It's hard to imagine him in the sort of cutthroat world of pastries. He's such a sweet dude, you know. Those master classes are worth it. Reggie took a couple. You took, what's her name? Annie Leibovitz or no? You did? Yeah. They're good. They're actually worth the money. So is Craftsy. They're trying to change their name because Craftsy is so horrifying. So they're changing it to Blueprint. All right, now we're going to put in the zest of a lemon. Microplane is the best zester. They say half, or Dominique says half. He also wants you to put an orange in, but I just am anti-orange. I don't know. I don't put orange in. Now I'm going to mix in that beautiful zest, and when you bake these, you can smell it. Just like on Christmas morning when I made it fresh for them, and nobody said anything. David and Nick. what you're going to do to save yourself a headache tomorrow is you're going to put this in the pastry bag before you put it in the fridge. How do you fill a pastry bag? So sometimes you'd be like this, like, go like this, and that's not how you do it. You do it like this. You put it in a deli. So you wrap it around a deli like this. It's the most simple thing. It's still always going to be a little messy, all right? But it's a lot less messy than you would do it if it was in your hand, said the actress to the bishop. Okay, so you're going to fill this pastry bag. Does everyone stare the way I do? I only stare this way at you. You know, because he's kind of irritating, everybody forgets, like, or people forget what an incredible singer Sting is. I mean, he's definitely nauseating, especially the lute thing. The lute thing, puke-inducing, I'm sorry. And you're just gonna go like this. Gonna gather the top. This is the night before, remember? And you're just gonna gently move it down. Don't press it too hard, because you know what happens? It bursts, okay? So it's not gonna go all the way down because there's air trapped here. You see all these air bubbles? Don't worry about that right now. And then you're gonna take the top and you're gonna twist it like this, and you're gonna tie this with a rubber band, like this, and put it in the refrigerator overnight. So now we're going to pipe some Madeleines, okay? And if you've never used a pastry bag before, don't be afraid. Well, you're not afraid because you're a dinner partier. But it takes a little skill. I'm not that good at it. But it's, don't be afraid to try this, okay? Because you're gonna make homemade Madeleines, which hopefully your friends will comment on. My friends didn't. And then we're just gonna put them in the oven and they're ready in like 4 minutes. But before we do that, I wanna talk about baking spray. This is basically oil with flour in it. So when you spray it on the surface, first of all, it looks awful, and then it dries into a perfectly prepared pan. I've practiced with it 4 or 5 times, and it works. They even have a convenient picture of a bundt cake on it, and it works particularly well for cakes. But I want to warn you about something. I had to go through quite a few baking sprays before I located Baker's Joy, because all of the other sprays, specifically Pam baking spray, has something politely referred to as natural flavor, which is synthetic flavor. This has no smell at all. It does have a propellant. What's the propellant? Nobody knows. It makes a little bit of a mess because it's a sprayer. All right, so here we go. Now don't worry about that. Wherever you see too much, just gently wipe it. Pastry bag. You can leave the rubber band on, and you're gonna kind of twist your finger like this, but there isn't enough space yet. So you're gonna kind of hold it like this. This does the squeezing, and this does the pointing. When you point, after you finish, you're gonna lift it up, because this is a great tip. You'll forget that it's coming out, and it will come out all over your tray. So squeeze, lift, okay? I'm gonna cut a hole in this. Cutting it too big is a mistake, so cut too small. So I'm gonna squeeze it until it's almost at the end, and then I'm gonna start. Squeeze, don't put too much, and don't worry about the shape. It'll settle down in the oven. Don't overfill them. I'm squeezing with my top hand, and I'm directing the nozzle with my other hand. I'm not squeezing with my downward hand. You've preheated your oven to 350. If you have convection, it's a little better, but it's not necessary. And if you have convection, always lower the baking temperature by 10 or 20 degrees. Okay, now you're gonna put this like that. Otherwise, you're gonna have a problem, and you're gonna put these in the oven. And halfway through, you're gonna spin them around. The goal is in the center of the Madeleine, you have a hump, which Dominique beautifully calls the heart of the Madeleine. So When you see the heart of the Madeleine forming, which is right there, it's forming, he wants you to spin it. Spin your pan, come on now and spin your pan. Close. You're gonna wait for them to get sort of goldeny browny, and you just take them like this, and you go like this. Yikes, how beautiful are they? You put them in a nice little thing. So look how perfect they came out. Look at that. I don't know what I'm doing, I made that. Oh my God. Oh, I know Reggie hates it, but it's traditional to serve them with just a little dusting of confectioner's sugar. Take one, Hightail. They're really, really good. Nikki.
Thank you.
Isn't that delicious?
Oh, that's really cool.
Isn't that really good? They're warm.
Thank you.
Oh, should I sign off? Madeleines, why not? They're named after one of my favorite human beings, Madeleine Birnbaum. They're not named after her. But Madeleines, why not make Madeleines? Maybe your friends will comment. Mine didn't. They're almost like sushi in that you have to eat it right when you make it. It can't go into a little plastic thing at the checkout at Starbucks.